All right, guys. So I'm going to first go over some house rules. Again, we might have some people still joining us. We might have some people trickling in, and that's totally fine. I am just going to ask if everyone can put themselves on camera, especially if they're going to speak. If you're just listening, because I know some people are on here for support as well, that's totally okay. Just if you are going to speak, I'm just asking if you feel comfortable. I'm not going to force you, just to put your camera on so we can see everyone. But just some regular house rules before we get into the conversation. So you are not obligated to share for each question, only share when you're comfortable. So don't feel like you absolutely have to. Again, just share when you're comfortable. Be respectful of others' viewpoints so we can all agree to disagree. In conversations, it can be tough. And then try to avoid triggering or offensive words and language. And if you feel like it's a teachable moment, you might want to correct someone on something, that's totally fine too. Just try not to come off like a little bit aggressive. Just be respectful and mindful of everyone. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself first, and then I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. So my name is Shelby Pulse. I think I might show up as Shelby Valentine on here. It's either or, honestly. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a prevention specialist at Brandywine Counseling, and part of what I do is run our social media pages. And I wanted to do something a little bit different because I don't know everything, obviously, and I feel like it comes out a lot more powerful when people are speaking from their own experiences and their own stories. So this is kind of what trickled into the Purple Table Talk. So this is just a roundtable discussion that we do pretty much like quarterly. And it's just on normally different aspects of recovery and addiction, but I thought it was really important to bring LGBTQ to light, especially because it's Pride Month and we're celebrating our organization, our big allies for them. So again, that's kind of what stumbled into it. This is just a small part of what I do. We do a lot of community outreach and engagement statewide, and we do work a lot with LGBTQ communities and organizations, and we're just supportive in any way that we can be. So it's a little bit about me. So if anyone feels comfortable, I'll go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'll go next. I'm James. I am Shelby's coworker. I'm the community mobilizer for the prevention department, and I essentially do everything that Shelby just told you, so I'm not going to go back and reiterate that.
I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Kiana. My pronouns are she, her. I am the founder and chief executive director of Freely Life Services. I am also an outpatient mental health counselor. I am also a youth mobile crisis counselor, and a holistic health practitioner. So, and I know it's in one of the questions, but I am a part of the LGBTQI plus community. I also consider myself an ally as well as an advocate. So nice to meet everyone.
My name is Sandra Weidman, and I am the mother of a beautiful trans daughter. She's 31, Danny, and I'm also a listener for Contact Lifeline, Crisis Hotline, and NSPL Connection for Delaware, for the National Suicide Hotline for Delaware, and multiple things working with women coming out of trafficking, addictions included that, mental health, illness. I am an ally. And also I'd like to mention that I am, just for the stigma of things that we're trying to destigmatize, I am a born again Christian, and I am an ally for the LGBT community in a very strong way, part of Delaware's PTK, Parents of Trans Kids. And that's about it. So I'm here to participate and to love on and all that.
My name is Gordon Walker. I was invited by a good friend, James. I am an ally. I am the owner of Numa Wellness and Spa, so I do massages, manicures, pedicures. I am a wellness coach. I'm a #1 best-selling co-author. I am a yoga and Zumba instructor. So it's just good to be on and participate.
Hello, everyone. I guess I'll go next. My name is Milan Mcneely. I was formally invited by James. I do identify as a trans woman, so I am a part of the LGBTQIA community, as well as I serve as an advocate and ally. I'm also a hairstylist and a former Delaware State University graduate. I studied women and gender studies as well as criminal justice.
I'll go next. My name is Summer, and James invited me to this meeting, and I'm currently an intern at Brandywine Counseling, and I go to Delaware Technical Community College, and I study human services.
I'll go. My name is Wesley Thompson, and I was invited by James. I go by he, him. I am also a part of the LGBTQIA community. I actually run my own entrepreneurial business doing PR and digital marketing and networking events. And I graduated from Delaware State back in 2016.
Did anyone else want to introduce themselves? There's a couple more. It's up to you though, no pressure. All right, guys. So thank you so much for letting us know a little bit about each of you. I'm going to be very biased on our DSU alumni because I'm one as well. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So again, you are not obligated to share, just if you feel comfortable. So our first question for tonight is going to be, would anyone be willing to share a little bit about your life and your journey? So whether that's if you identify in the LGBTQ plus community, or you're an ally, or you might be a little bit of both.
I don't really know how this works that well. So like, I don't know how to jump in. I don't know how, like, my screen, I don't know if you guys can see me.
We can, you're good.
Good. So I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Trevor Brown. I'm a good friend of James. He introduced me. And I think it's great that I introduced myself at this point of the conversation with this specific question, because I think I might have the most complicated and interesting journey here. A little bit about my past. I don't know how long everybody's been in Delaware, but my grandmother is actually former Governor Ruth Ann Minner. So my journey was actually really, really hard. I grew up in an atmosphere where our lives were very private and very secluded because, we were kind of always in the limelight, and everyone, was always on our backs and watching everywhere we went, everywhere we sat down. And that definitely complicated my journey coming out as a proud gay man and as a proud member of the LGBTQ community. It prolonged the process for years, and it was definitely an uphill climb. There was a lot of insecurities that caused, and there was a lot of a lot of extra pressure, I would say, that was put on me because of choices that my family had made, and choices that they pursued in their professional lives. And I will tell you, like, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, like, thus far, but it was probably the most rewarding. And I feel like, especially now, like, it is Pride Month, and I'm an active member in the community. I'm down in Rehoboth all the time, and I support some of the LGBTQ friendly businesses down there. Like, I'm sure everyone's been to the Parrot. And I just really, really am grateful that Delaware seems to be taking strides in the right direction as far as the incorporation of us and the acceptance of us, and our presence. We are present. We are here. So that's just a little bit about me, and that's just a little bit about my journey. It was very hard, and I felt like I was walking on ice. A little too much, I could possibly fall through and sink. Not enough, I'd be upset with myself. But we're here, we're present, and that's it.
Well, you want to go? Or how we gonna do it?
Yes.
You know.
because he popped up on my screen. I'm like, oh, should I have been? But yes, it's me, Milan, again. Just to touch on a little bit of my journey. It was kind of, I wouldn't say easy. I was more so harder on myself when it came to before I transitioned, identifying as a gay man, but I always felt like a woman. So it was kind of a little bit tough going throughout life, especially being my mom's only son before I transitioned. It was kind of tough going throughout life of, having certain things hanging over me because, when you're the only son and then, it feel like everything is just on your back. So from there, coming out to my parents was kind of easy. But I started my journey on transitioning this year. So I am actually 6 months on my hormones.
Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. But throughout my transition to being a trans woman, we came to find out I was born intersex. So basically, I have a female makeup inside. So I have an ovary, a half a uterus, and a female pelvic floor. And growing up, I always had chest too. That was another problem that I had and why I felt like a woman. But when we finally started the journey and finding out certain things, it was like, oh wow, this was actually made for me, and this is how I was actually made. So as I started traveling throughout my transitioning journey, it kind of started to become an impact because I felt that I have a community that I have to stand up for, especially the Black and Latina trans woman, because it's not a lot of people that's, advocating for us and stuff like that. So, go us. Yeah, so far the journey is, I guess you could say, okay, but it has its ups and downs.
So I can share a little bit. I identify as lesbian. I came out to my parents, and I'm learning that we welcome them in as well, right? So I'm probably going to use coming out and welcoming them in interchangeably. And if anyone needs to correct me, that's okay. I was corrected when I was on a panel a couple of weeks ago. I said coming out, and they were like, oh no, we say welcoming in. I'm like, okay. There's always a new term, which I am, evolving and learning every day, even being a part of the LGBTQ plus community. So I came out to my parents 19 years ago. I was a freshman at Delaware State University. Probably the very basic heteronormativity life style, like growing up in a Baptist home with a mom and a pops, seeing a heterosexual couple growing up, having a gay uncle that back in the day, we didn't say gay, right? We didn't talk about it. My uncle had a friend always growing up. And so when it came time to welcome my parents in, at the age of 19, I was already a single mother, right? Because I was in the closet. I had a boyfriend in high school. And they were like, okay, what do we do with this, right? And it took my pops to say, well, my brother was homosexual. We didn't really talk about it when she was younger, but clearly this is who she is because this is who she is. And at that point, it was letting all the family know, kind of going through some things with an auntie who was like, oh, you can't be a lesbian and have a son. I'm going to report you, to DFS. Back then, they thought like, I can take your child, if you're in a same-sex relationship. And it took me to understand that they just really didn't understand it at first, and then they evolved and they learned and they became very welcoming, and a million other cousins have since welcomed them in. So we're probably a big diverse family of heterosexual and LGBTQ, transgender, lesbian, bisexual, intersex. We're just a huge rainbow collision at this point. And so welcoming people in at this point is pretty easy for my family. But back then it was like religion, God says no, God says no. And they noticed that a lot of us kind of trailed away from the religion and we're more spiritual than anything now. And they're like, okay, we don't want to keep shunning you and losing our familyship. So they're very welcoming now. But that 19 years ago was a little bit of a, it was a different story.
I'll go next. I like to read, so my journey. I came out to my parents. I come from I come from a Jehovah's Witness type thing, so that's very extreme. No longer anyway. So I came out to my family when I was 12. That's when I got the whole spiel. I I accepted more of myself when I was 12. So even though I knew I would have the backlash, I was actually well prepared, being as though that you don't really see a dad who is accepting. I came out to my dad when I was 10, but I came out to everybody else when I was 12. And I actually thought my dad would be the one to do the typical normal dad stuff of, oh, you're gay, I'm gonna beat you up. That's where I come from. But my dad was just like, well, do I still have a son? So, but then I had to educate him on, you know, Dad, just because I'm gay doesn't mean I'm a girl. So he was like, oh, okay, well, I got your back. So I had a good supportive dad. It was actually my mom that wasn't really supportive, but after a while, within the couple of years, she became very supportive. Right now, I have a fiance. I am an ally, so I do advocate for and stand up for people like me who have been, as they would say, excommunicated from the world, or have a disease, or have some type of symptom of just you're going to hell. So I like to stand up for people who have been bullied. I don't like bullying because I've been bullied from literally since I was in kindergarten to 12th grade. And so, of course, fighting is not a hesitation for me. So that's basically my journey of how I came here.
Would anyone else like to share?
I'll share.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, just remember, you
mm.
only have to share if you feel comfortable. Don't feel like anyone's obligated to share.
I actually didn't even get a chance to, you know, come out or welcome them. And my brother actually, you know, told my parents that I was gay. I actually was planning on telling them when I left because my parents, at the time I knew that my father was homophobic because, you know, the family, they would always make jokes like him and his brothers and sisters and stuff. So I just knew it wasn't going to go over well. And of course it didn't. So that part of my life was really like traumatizing because I was 15 years old. You know, I just remember waking up and my brother had told them and they had went through my phone, and it was very traumatizing for like the next, I want to say 6 years on, you know, like things have changed for me as far as like how I was treated, or, you know, curfew, or I was being followed everywhere I went. Even was so bad till my father brought a gun to my graduation, but that's a whole different conversation. But coming out was really hard for me. I doubted myself a lot, you know. It wasn't until college where I got around people that made me like proud of who I was. And it took for me to actually grow and figure out who I was too, because I was still trying to identify and figure out who I was. So that part of my journey just helped me become who I was. So I don't regret it in a way because it made me who I was. Surprisingly, my father took it a lot easier than my mom. So when I say him bringing a gun to my graduation, and I'm saying that's taking it easy, so you can only imagine what my mother did. So that was, you know, a whole different ball game, but it's actually gotten better. I mean, still to this day, my mom, it's like, I know she accepts me, but I don't think she fully accepts it. I think she just accepts it off of the strength that I am her son, because some of the comments that she still makes is just like, oh, do you accept me really? Or are you just saying it because I'm your child? But I think over the time, my father has grown to understand more, and he's doing the typical things. Like he thinks I know everybody that's gay in the world. But other than that, yeah, that's my story.
So we'll try to talk.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, my name is Fuentes Fountain. I was invited by James. I am part of the LGBT community. I am a model and photographer. Being gay and coming out gay was hard. My mom did not accept it at all. I came out when I was 18. And I remember the phone conversation like vividly. Like I remember telling her like, "Hey mom, I'm gay." And at this time I was with my first boyfriend I ever dated, ever had any relationships with. And we stayed at a hotel because I got kicked out of my house. And I remember telling her the first moment, I'm like, "Hey mom, I'm gay." I was like about either 18 or 19 at the time. And she was like, "Oh, it's fine, it's okay, like I love you, da da da." And then like 2 minutes later, my aunt called and was like, "Why is your mom on the floor crying and screaming? Why did this happen to me? Like, why did I hear this? Like, you know." And it took me a while to accept that and realize that and grow from that. And made me into who I am today. Going back then to now, telling her that, it paved the way for my sister, which is part of the LGBT community. She's a lesbian now, which helped her come out as well. And just getting past trauma that I realized was wrong. I was raped when I was younger. I didn't understand. Everything happens over time and it's healed over time, but just things I never realized until I turned gay, and being gay actually helped me through a lot of things that I went through. But yeah, that's my story.
Okay, so I'll go. Again, my name is James. Well, everybody here knows me, so. I never really came out. I really didn't have to come out. Ever since I was a young child, everybody knew something was different about me, that I had like they say a little sugar in your tank or a little Fruit Loop or something like that. I was always with the girls. I was always playing in heels and makeup and stuff like that. But as I got older, like when I got to like middle school, I started to get into like sports, but I wasn't into like masculine sports. I did like cheerleading and gymnastics and stuff like that. So I wasn't raised by like my mother, but I was raised by her brother. And they didn't really understand why I wanted to do that. So he tried to make me play soccer. He tried to make me play football, and it just was not working. I used to lie about going to practice because I didn't want to do it. So my aunt, protected me and allowed me to pursue cheerleading. But then like when I got to like, about 15, 16, I started wearing makeup. I ordered breastplates from Amazon. I learned how to tuck. I learned how to do a whole bunch of stuff because I thought that in order for me to be gay, I had to be a woman. And it took me a while to learn that to be gay, you don't have to be a woman. So I got bashed for that by my family. When I got my first job, my aunt fired me from my job because she didn't like me wearing the makeup or wearing the breastplates or anything like that. So I went through like a whole identity crisis. So then I tried to wear like masculine clothes, but I would wear feminine things as well. So it was like a time of big confusion between the ages like 16 to 20. Now I identify as like I'm serving butch queen realness, and I know that I don't have to be a woman to be gay, but I don't have to be masculine. I don't have to be feminine. I just have to be me. But growing up, my childhood wasn't really that rough. I mean, I got bashed a little bit. I was told that I'll get AIDS and die, especially because my grandmother, she passed away from AIDS. So my family took that very seriously, and they thought that being gay having AIDS was the gay disease. So when they found out that I did like guys, I started talking to guys. They were very concerned about it. And then people were like, they were kind of disappointed in me, but they tried to support me to the best of their ability because they knew that's what I wanted to do. And they were just like, just be careful. But now everyone supports me. I do what I want to do. And I embrace myself. I encourage other people. And that's me.
Yes, honey.
Did anyone else want to share?
I think Jasmine wants to share.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, honey. We can hear
Okay,
you.
I don't really get on Zoom much. Okay, my story is I'm actually James's cousin, by the way, and my name is Jazz. And my story isn't that complicated. I actually had a lot of support along the way. The most uncomfortable thing is like when we go out in public, me and my girlfriend, sometimes they put her out of the bathroom because like they mistaken her for a boy multiple times, and it's like really embarrassing. And like I don't really know how to take it because like she does dress like a guy, so I can't really get offended too much, but it does bother me because I know it bothers her. And my grandma was really judgmental about it, and she's kind of a hypocrite because she was gay once upon a time. But I got bashed by her like for the first year and a half, but then she started to come around. And my mom, she had to like explain it to her, like as long as I'm happy, then everybody else should support me. But my dad, he wasn't the greatest about it when I first told him. He just asked me why didn't I want to be with boys, but I never felt like boys were the right thing for me since about like the age of 10. And yeah, I'm gay and I have a lot of gay friends and I love it here, honestly.
Best place to be. Best way to be. Let me not impose on others, but I'm just saying. So I think, Shelby, everybody pretty much shared for this one.
I think there's a few that didn't, but like I said, do not feel obligated to share. If you're not comfortable, that's totally fine. But I'm just gonna, unless anyone else wants to share, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next question.
I just want to share that as a parent, I'm obviously the oldest one in the group at 61. I just want to share that, as a parent and a lot of the LGBTQAIA callers that I get, the young people, I just honor all of you. And I'm so blessed when I get calls from young people that I can be that accepting person. I can be that advocate. I can be that ally. I can hear their story and encourage them and support them. And I just honor all of you. It's a beautiful thing. And we are all part of this human world together. And it really angers me and frustrates me when I hear people, especially those that believe in God, that God is against any one of his creation. That really upsets me. And you say pro-life, I'm pro-life from inception to death. You can't be pro-life and then take away all the rights and things when you don't like how this life that you gave behaves. That's just not okay. So I really honor all of you and thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you guys so much for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable too with your stories. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question. So how have you been personally affected by substance use in the LGBTQ community, or has someone you love in the LGBTQ plus community been affected by substance use and it has impacted you?
I'll go first. Personally, I don't use any substances. That wasn't mine. My addiction was actually sex. But my fiance, who I'm currently with now, his substance abuse at one point in time was affecting me, just because he has a story. To be honest, we met each other on Grind, so it wasn't no type of. It was just for play, and then it got another road got serious. I call myself, I had a blind moment, where how I met him, I didn't know it was a halfway house anyway. So all of a sudden, this clicked in like, oh, I'm laying in ice right here. And I got to actually see him at his low state where he relapsed and went into it, and how he was afraid to open up his feelings to me about what he's been through, whatever the case may be. And to be honest, I used to be a pastor of a church, so I get, I forgot your name, so I don't want to, but I know how it is. I'm very spiritual as well. So I kind of had some intuition and that I was able to actually minister to him too about some things I just kind of got from him. And through that, it actually enabled him to open up to me. And so right now he is in recovery. But the thing is, I support him, and all he needed to know was somebody was going to be there while, like, I'm gonna keep using excommunicated because, like I said, we have a place where we gotta always be the one, oh, it's not accepted, you're automatically going to hell, it's a sickness, it's a disease, it's all this other stuff that people can't come up with. And so all he needed to know that somebody was there to support him, and through me being there to help him out. And I would always ask him, do you trust me? And he would be like, trust you a little bit. I said, well, take that little bit and I'm gonna hold you accountable. And I would start little by little holding him accountable. You said this, don't be afraid of your emotions. You know, when he would do something successful, he would want to go do the drug. Because that's whether he was happy, sad, mad, in between, it was the drugs that he wanted to celebrate or do whatever. And I said, no, take this moment to enjoy it because you're robbing of yourself of being able to feel. I know you're scared, I will go, yeah, woo, woo. So like I said, right now he's in recovery. And through me loving him and through me asking him, hey, do you just trust me a little bit? Well, because you trust me a little bit, let's help it grow. And this is what I would like you to do. And I would always say to him when he would tell me, oh, you don't understand. I took the tool from cigarettes and I said, well, remember they would say that secondhand smoke is just as bad as the person doing it? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, I'm getting affected more than you think I am because I'm seeing you doing this drug and I see what it's doing to you, but what it's doing to me, and so I put it in that perspective, like, don't ever say I don't understand you when I'm the witness. And I said, it's just as well. I said, it's just like secondhand smoke. I really actually get it worse than you think I do. And so putting those things into practice and helping him understand helped him get into recovery, and he's doing much better.
What was the question again? I forgot.
No, you're okay. So, have you been personally affected by substance use? So, like, has that been a struggle for anyone, or has someone you loved in the LGBTQ plus community been affected by substance use and it's impacted you? It's always like
Okay.
yeah.
I actually, I can go. During college was very hard, dealing with, trying to figure out who I was. So I used to drink a lot. And even after college, while I was in grad school, I was still going through coming back home and still dealing with, the issues that weren't patched up with my family. It was like me going away was just going away, but I had to come back and face it after. So it was just really a lot of drinking, trying to forget. And it actually was until last year where I was just like, I looked in the mirror and I was just like, that's not even who you are. So it was just more of a healing process for me because it was like, I had to accept the fact that I will never see eye to eye with them, and I had to forgive them. I had to learn how to forgive them even without hearing the words from them, if that makes sense. So it took me some time to figure that out, and yeah, that's pretty much. And I've actually have witnessed, they weren't close friends of mine, but they were friends of friends. And I actually witnessed some friends that did substance abuse, and unfortunately they did pass away last year. And also previous to that, in 2019, I had another friend of a friend who actually passed away from substance abuse. Like they were running. I remember the last time I saw them, like we had a conversation about how, they were excited that they were just, getting back in school and that they, were excited to get back on the right track, but it just didn't work out. So I just always try to like promote, if you ever need to talk to someone, like reach out, because you just never know. But yeah.
Did anyone?
So I'm
Oh,
going
sorry.
to share.
It's like as soon as I ask, someone starts talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I've not experienced substance abuse personally, and I don't have any loved one that identifies as LGBTQ and struggling. But as a mental health therapist and as a crisis therapist, I do have clients that have struggled with substance abuse. And as an empath, listening to their stories and taking on, I feel everything that I'm listening to. I can say that it probably personally affects me at times, just listening to the stories about how they even got to be abusing substances. Underage substance use. And what we know about the LGBTQ plus community is that substance abuse or use starts at a younger age than heterosexual individuals, and also is abused at higher rates than heterosexual individuals. So when I'm speaking to my clients and I'm listening to their stories, a lot of it has stemmed from homophobia. A lot of it stems from parental rejection. But the homophobia piece is also the internal homophobia and self-hatred. Because they're confused, because they want to come out, because no one's accepting them, and they're hating themselves and forcing themselves to be someone that they're not. Listening to their stories, watching them cry when they talk about it, sometimes personally affects me because of all of the emotions that I can hold on to. So that's my personal and professional experience with it, although not anyone that I love.
Oh, go ahead.
I guess I'll go next. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So my experience was my first time. I never seen anybody do it before, except that one time. There's a lot of, I'm not gonna say like a lot, but people in the gay community will invite you to events or parties. And I have seen like someone shoot up in front of me. I've seen people do Tina, which is AKA meth, in front of me. I never knew of that. I never even thought of that. My addiction, myself, that I went through was weed and alcohol. I went through a brief depression after me and my ex broke up, and I was just like partying and drinking and going out. And it took my mom to tell me that she didn't think I was going to live till I was 30 to actually realize, like, yo, like you're addicted, like you're a walking functional alcoholic, for me to actually realize that. So now I advocate to everyone, don't do drugs, don't do weed. Like, we may be so minor and simple in people's eyes, but it's definitely a big thing because it could control your life. So I'm an advocate for that, and that's my experience.
So I'll go. So I don't really have any friends who suffer from substance use, but I have friends who use substances. But I know that in my family, alcoholism is a big thing. So I know that sometimes back before I learned coping mechanisms and how to confide in people, talk to them, I used to drink heavily when I was like depressed or upset. But now that I see that I'm older and I go to like bars or go out with my friends, and I hang out with a lot of gay people or anybody that's on the LGBTQ spectrum, a lot of people do a lot of coke. Um, and then once I got my job in prevention, it kind of made me have a different outlook on things. So when I'm at the bar, and my friends are there and they're saying I'm going to the bathroom, I know what they're going to the bathroom for, and you know, I try to convince them or encourage them not to do coke because, you know, everything's like laced nowadays, and fentanyl is on the rise of things, and it's just very, very dangerous. And I witnessed too many overdoses, and I lost people from overdoses. So I think that substance use in the LGBT community is a huge problem, and it's like we need help. we really need help. We need attention. There's not like a lot of resources, especially here in Delaware. We don't really have a lot of resources for the LGBTQ community. It's not as inclusive as we think it is. So I kind of see why people revert to that. And also, depending on where you live, like down in Sussex County, opioids are really bad down there. And then it's also because it's a rural area and they don't have a lot of resources. So yeah, substance abuse, I witnessed it firsthand. I was just in the community the other day, going to like my cousin's house, and there's a lot of people who are homeless. Well, I don't know if they're really homeless, but they're on the streets and they're like have substance use issues. And I literally seen a guy pass. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was coke or heroin or whatever it was, but he literally took a bag and put it in his sock and like kept going. And then I think people arguing over stems and arguing over drugs and things like that. And it was just like disheartening to me. So I'm glad that I do the work that I do now.
And James, I'm glad that you pointed out, I'm sorry, Shelby, is it okay for me to, okay, that there aren't many resources, because I have always done work for the LGBTQ plus community. And what I realized, so I'm a doctoral candidate in the prevention science program at WMU. And what I realized, my focus is LGBTQ plus, and what I realized is that I did not place emphasis on substance use in the community. And doing my research as a doctoral student and then getting moving forward as a candidate, I did all the research, and the research says that an estimated 20 to 30% of the LGBTQ plus community abuses substances more, compared to about 9% of the population as a whole. And when I think about that, there's like 7.9 billion people, right, in the world, and you take 30% of that, and I'm not good at math, but that's almost what, 3 billion, right, that are abusing substances. And then there's little old Delaware, where we have a huge population of us here, and not many resources, that we definitely need to, come together and increase services for that. So thank you for pointing that out.
I was going to say, actually, yeah, I actually think this is a perfect transition into our next question. If anyone else wants to share, please cut me off. Okay, so our next question is, have you noticed if any barriers have contributed to substance use in the LGBTQ plus community? So things, whatever, then it can be off this list, but just some examples would be like COVID-19, bullying, discrimination, homophobia, family rejection, homelessness, anything like that. Have you guys either, again, personally experienced, or kind of is that something that you have witnessed?
I can start. I know that I've never personally went through that, but a lot of times, as you hear, it's typical, when some parents find out that your child is gay, they put them out, and then they have nowhere to go. So then, older gays, like you get your gay dad or your gay mom, they bring them in, but not everybody has good intentions. So it can start from there. Like they'll bring them in. Oh, if you stay here, you have to have sex with me, or you have to do drugs. So, and then they're very impressionable and young. So it can start from there, because not everybody has good intentions. And I have heard stories like that, and I have actual friends who went through that. So I've never did it personally, but it all starts there, especially at the young age, because they don't know any better. They're out on the streets, they're just trying to make a living. So I can say that's one of the biggest issues that goes on. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemies and don't even know it.
I'm going to echo what Wesley said, through one experience and witnessing. When you're just when you're still trying to find yourself, or just trying to receive love, and you're just trying to find someone to support. I've been in the community where I've had friends that I was going to stay with. That goes in all to my like I said, my sex addiction and all that other stuff. Where even in the own LGBTQ plus community, you kind of have people with evil intentions in order for you to stay or for them to help you. And they see that you're attractive, they see that you're naive, they're trying to have this thing of groom you, those type of things. And it hurts that when it's your own people, sometimes you don't know where you kind of even fit in. And that's where I dealt with. That's a barrier. So, and then you have, your aunts who say they love you, not to heterosexual, but you then have to like really adapt to how they want you to live in order to stay. So like the trauma that comes with all of that, it can be a barrier. I've been bullied, witnessed bullying, discrimination on jobs, or why you couldn't get the job, even if you are capable and willing. The whole homophobia stuff, of course. So definitely, as James and I believe I want to pronounce it, Miss Kiana, definitely what's lacking is the support, pure, genuine people who really want to help the LGBTQ plus community.
I guess I'll go next. So, as a trans woman, I've noticed that due to the lack of resources that's, provided in the community, a lot of trans women tend to go seeking for something that makes them feel good, especially when you're doing certain things such as sex work and stuff like that. A lot of trans women tend to lean more to drugs because they lose the feeling of, what's going on, and they're just in the moment. So with that being said, I also feel like the bullying, the rejection, also like some trans women aren't lucky enough to be able to get a job and stuff like that. So they turn to things that help them lose the feeling of, okay, well, I'm a failure, or, certain things that just make them feel down and doubts about themselves. But definitely due to, the search and finding themselves, they tend to try to lose themselves so that they could end up putting everything back together from what I've seen. And yeah.
And so I'm huge on statistics and research. So the research says that a lot of the substance abuse comes from the bullying and harassing, homelessness, but also housing instability. And I think that's who moved in with someone? Was that Gordon or James? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The housing instability is a huge contributing factor for some of my clients that I've spoken to that contributed to them utilizing substances. Like Gordon said, having to move in with someone, but then conforming to their rules, or you have to do this, like that quid pro quo. You have to do this in order to stay here, or give me that. Those are huge contributing factors when it comes to substance use in the LGBTQ community, per the research.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I'm a huge research and stuff like that too. So I can get with you.
Did anyone else want to share on this one?
Not being part of the community, I thought I would share something that I experienced, and part of Contact Lifeline is we are part of the PREA, which is for the prison system, and they can call in and report their sexual assault experiences. And then we then take the report, take their name, number, the officer at that was starting the difficulty, and we report it then to the advocate that then would relate to the prisons. And I would say that if we're talking statistics, I would say that pretty much 100% of the PREA calls we get are from this community and feeling very unsafe because they are not provided the proper cell situation for their identity and for their gender identity, and or nor feel safe and feel targeted, not only I would say maybe not as much by the fellow inmates or female inmates, the inmates in general, but are actually victims to the authorities, and they feel whatever that privilege to address them in inappropriate ways. So again, just that I don't know why they're incarcerated, but I do feel that the resources and the protection and the acknowledgement is extremely lacking in that system in general.
And that's deep.
Yeah, and I do sometimes talk with them. I have a poem that I'd written for my daughter, and sometimes I'll read them that, or just acknowledge them. I think, what I hear all of you is just, if you were heard, if you were understood, if you were believed, if you were supported, just acknowledged in your life circumstances and your value, so many things could be different. And I just don't understand why that's so hard for people.
The one thing that I try to teach some of my parents who have children who are LGBTQ, who are very much so religious, because religion plays a huge factor in that rejection piece. I say, and this is, I have Baptist families, Jehovah's Witnesses, families that are Islamic, and I say, whoever your higher power is, if you say that higher power is love, right? God is love, Allah is love. It's all love, right? Love is the creative force. This all comes through love. And if you can identify your higher power as that, then understand that is all we are doing. It's all love. And sometimes they're like, aha, well, that makes sense, right? Because we're not hating anyone, we're not killing anyone, we're not harming anyone. It's all love. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but most times it works. So explain it like that.
Ms. Kiana, I want to echo off you. Like I said, I used to be a pastor, but I have a PhD in divinity. When I would speak about love of the higher power of the creator, I would always ask them, do you have love? And they would go like, yes. And then I said, do you have agape? And then I mentioned in the book, the Bible talks about an agape love. And a lot of them never heard that before. And they go, well, what is that? And I go, that's the unconditional love that the creator has for all his creations. And how, if we are to exemplify or exude what he does, then can you say that you reach agape love? You may have love, but your love may also be based on condition versus an unconditional. So have you reached that? Have you allowed yourself to reach the unconditional versus the condition? Because there are two types of love that most people don't know about. And so it really then brings that like, well, don't answer that question, because since you got to wail me, that means you haven't reached it. So now I give a call to action. What are you willing to do to get there?
Yeah, it's that piece, love. Love can solve so many things, I'm telling you. Where there's love, there's support, right? Where there's love, there's compassion. Where there's love, there's empathy. Where there's love, there's understanding. So if you have love, then you should be able to get to that understanding. And we can decrease these substance abuse rates, which then lead to suicidality and depression and anxiety and so many other things. So
Yeah, and also the emphasis of all. I mean, all is all. Like, I don't know where you come up with like all minus one or all minus, but all is all.
You better say that, Sandra.
I love that.
This
All
is,
is
I
all.
do sign language and this is all, it's all. It's all.
I love where this is going. I love it when everyone kind of jumps in and starts piggyback off one another. Did anyone else want to share on this specific question before we get to the last one? All right, so we're going to end it with, what have you done or what are you doing to strengthen or support the LGBTQ plus community?
So I'll begin. Like I said, I'm a wellness coach. I go into wholeness talking. One, I was just looking up something. It reminds me. I tell them about labels. I do. So I tell them about labels, and of course, I give them dictionary because I'm a nerd, so I love to read the dictionary for fun, like to increase my vocabulary. And sometimes going into, and I'm just going this for me, my belief, going into the LGBTQ, a lot of times our labels are idolized, but I feel like it keeps us stagnant of our overall goal of who we are and how we were created and what we were created to do. Like I said, I'm gonna go a little bit to Bible. And I try not to because I know people go into God, sometimes, to be honest, we actually have a problem with that. So I do try to be careful, but I just try to be careful, not scared. But one, I tell them the definition of good. Let's go to foundation. God created us. He saw that we were good. Good is actually broken down into excellent. We were made fine, excellent, worthy, pure, righteous, of good use, benefits. So what I'm saying is I tell them, well, you were created with all this stuff inside of you to actually help you overcome this. We still get, to be honest, we're still healing. I don't believe that any one of us, my belief, once again, is that we're all healed from all our traumas or hurts, habits, and hangups. So it's a conscious daily thing. But we have to remind ourselves that we're more than just gay. So when people put us, to be honest, it's an inaccurate or restrictive way. That's what labels do. It puts you in a box. And I let them know you're more than just, you're not just put in a box. You're not restricted to just being gay. To be honest, you're not restricted to just that. Don't confine yourself to just that, because sometimes spoken words, to be honest, I don't believe in that. What sticks off me, bounce off me, sticks to you. Whatever the case may be, because words can clothe us. We clothe ourselves with words every darn day. So when people put you in that restriction, you can think, yeah, but I'm more than just that. Say my name, as what a lot of people say my name. I have a name first before I have a label. And if I can remember my name, I can remember everything that comes with my name. I can remember the fact that I'm well. I have what it takes inside me to have wealth. I have what's inside me to actually be gay and help bring other gay people out. We're here to bring life. We're here to make a legacy. We're here to bring an impact. And that's what I always try to help them remember is when they get down in the dumps and go, well, I can't do this because, no. Don't put yourself down because and I would say, do you feel bad to be gay? No, then why do you even come to me? Well, don't come to me talking about I'm down because I didn't get this job because I know it's because I'm gay. Well, if you don't like it, change it. But if you don't have a problem with it, don't let nobody else put you there. And there's something else for you. There's more inside of you than just that job. And so find out what it is and you walk in that. So that's just, I always give them what I give words to debunk the negativity that comes with the word, or labels that restrict us or put us in a box.
I want to jump in just because I have to get off. So I founded a nonprofit organization in 2016. It's originally Freely Foundation, but now Freely Life Services for Individuals and Families Incorporated. So I also co-found, and that's for LGBTQ plus, BIPOC, and women, right? We do safe space events, we provide resources, referrals, micro grants, things of that nature to those populations. I also co-founded the Newcastle County LGBTQ plus Youth Pride Festival, which takes place every year in September. We founded it in 2018, and that is to provide safe space event and activities for LGBTQ youth to feel comfortable to come out or to let people in, or even just to be allies. I'm also a mental health counselor. A lot of my clients do identify as LGBTQ plus, and so, and I'm a board certified holistic health practitioner. So it is treating the mental, physical, spiritual, socioeconomic well-being. It's the whole self, right? Treating the whole self from start to finish, from top to bottom is what I say. So I work with individuals to address their symptoms related to mental illness, physical illness, but also related to the risk factors that they experience because they identify as LGBTQ plus. Yesterday, I attended a panel, and I told one of my clients this today. I'm now going to use it forever. The gentleman said, "You have when you accept yourself and love yourself, right? Letting go of that self-hate, and like I said, there's a lot of homophobia." He said, when you let go of the self-hate, you realize that you're the cake. You're the cake, and everything else and everything else and everyone else that comes into your life is just the icing. So when you know that you're the cake, you know that you're like the end all be all, and you welcome yourself, you accept yourself, you love yourself. Everything else is the icing, and it helps you throw back all of that negative energy because it makes life sweeter. I told one of my clients that today, and she was like, "Oh, I love it. I'm the cake," right? So Freely Life Services, I'll put the nonprofit website in the chat so that you can go online and see. I've written a children's book for LGBTQ youth who experience suicidality. It's a book to help parents with parental acceptance, because parental rejection is a huge factor for substance abuse and suicidality as well. The two coincide. So thank you all for having me. Shelby, thank you for reaching out to me. I've got to run, but I hope to do this again really soon.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I'll go. So for me, I normally do, panel speaking like this. And then also with my business, I try to do like small networking and seminar events. I am planning another one. I have a networking event coming up in August, but I'm planning another one in October specifically for the LGBTQ community, just to show that, society says we can't get a job or we're not deserving. I believe in making my own lane, and I love to support my community and help them, with any way that I can. So I do these networking events to give back and, bring other like-minded individuals together. So like to say, hey, you don't have to, be without a job, or you don't have to figure out how you don't want to eat, because we're all here to help each other. So that's one of my biggest things that I've been working on.
Okay, so I'll go. Well, within my job title, I do a lot. But aside from that, within the LGBTQ community itself, we all face a lot of adversity between each other. So there's a lot of shaming. There's a lot of degradation in there. There's a lot of shaming of trans women. There's a lot of shaming with sexual positions. There's a lot of shaming with masculinity or femininity. There's a lot of shaming with like pronouns and pretty much anything that is associated with gay or queer or queerness. So what I do is I pretty much educate people. I let them know about the pronouns. I let them know about gender identity and gender expression, and sexual orientation, things like that. Typically, if I hear somebody say something that's like out of the that's like not politically correct, I correct them, educate them on it, because ignorance is bliss, and it's just like if you're not saying anything or taking action, then you're just complicit to the problem. And within the community, we have a problem. So if we're not encouraging each other, empowering each other, uplifting each other, and letting us know that we can all be our own authentic selves, then we're not going to go anywhere. And then the rest of the people that are outside of the LGBTQ community and also our allies, that, like, nobody's really going to want to support us. We have to support ourselves first. So it's really important to me that all of the LGBTQ people are on one accord, and they all have some type of understanding, because people really don't understand. I have a few girlfriends who are trans women, trans men, and are dating, and there's people in the community like, well, how's that possible, or why are they dating? You know, they're confused. So, you know, that's where I step in and I educate them on, you know, gender identity and sexual orientation. Like, a lot of things is just stigma, and we have like been conditioned to learn these things. So anything that's learned can be unlearned, and that's what I'm here to do.
Yes, so for myself, I have been a mentor and an educator for going on about 2 years now. I call them my children and my babies. I have 2 trans daughters, and they basically, how can I put this? So they basically came out and they lost everything. So my goal as a mentor was basically, you know, helping them get back on their feet, finding, you know, employment, housing, and things of that sort. And then when it comes to the education part, I do like to educate people on the pronouns, sexual orientation, gender identity, and things like that, especially when it comes to myself, especially with the pronouns and stuff like that. I really try to just, you know, break it down and explain it more in a simple way so that, you know, everybody can grasp it. And for the most part, this is my first panel, but I definitely do look forward to doing more within the community and representing trans women, be an advocate even more.
Would anyone else like to share on our last question?
I know y'all out there doing something. And don't be quiet.
I'll just share that I mentioned I work for the call center, and so it's volunteer. I do 8 to 16 hours a week, probably over 2 years now. And I feel so blessed because I'm that voice, you know, I'm that ear on the other end. And the amount of young people I get, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16 years old, of young people that call either just the crisis or the NSPL line, that are on the edge and, you know, just feel that there's no other option to make things better, to be that listening voice, to be that parental voice. Most people don't, when they hear my voice, don't think I'm as old as I am. They're like, what? They think I'm a peer or something. I'm like, oh no. Feel loved, they feel cared for. I see my internet's unstable. I don't know if you all heard me. anyway, it's just really, and I love being an advocate. I love being able to do that, and being part of PTK, Parents of Trans Kids, is a wonderful organization that I would also recommend you suggest to people. The kids meet separate from the parents, and they have a community, and there's a lot of youth, a lot of young people, 6, 7 years old, 10, 12, 16 years old. So I feel very glad to be a part of that community. My daughter transitioned at 25, I think, and she's 31 now. So she was an adult, but a lot of things made sense, once she transitioned. Oh, that makes sense. And so it's a beautiful thing. And I love people to be their authentic selves.
Would anyone else like to share? All right, guys. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for just taking the time out tonight to hang out with me and be part of this conversation. I really, really appreciate it. I also, again, really appreciate how vulnerable everyone was. That's just extremely helpful to people that may be listening to this conversation, and what you said might help them. So I really appreciate you guys being very open and very vulnerable. And that's a wrap, y'all. That was the Purple Table Talk. So I will let you guys go for the evening. And I will relay it to James. James, thank you so much for inviting so many people. I love it when there's a large group in these conversations. If anyone in the future ever wants to be a part of any of these, I would be more than happy to have you back. So thank you guys again so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Love meeting you all.
Bye.